Join me for an update on the war here in Israel on this February 4th, 2024. Shalom, everybody. My name is Akiva Gersh. Welcome to Israel in 5, where we give you everything Israel in 5 minutes. Please like and subscribe, and feel free to leave comments, ask questions, continue the discussion below in the comments. So now with our weekly update on the war here in Israel, today is day 121 of this war. This is now officially Israel's second longest war ever, second only after the War of Independence in 1948, which lasted about a year and a half. Like we said before, we knew, Israelis knew, we were told by our leaders, military and political, that this war would be a very, very different war, because this war had to have different results and outcomes. We're still very much in the thick of this war, in the middle of this war. Thank God Israel has achieved tremendous goals already, really fighting back against Hamas, their infrastructure, their tunnels, their terrorists, their strongholds. Tremendous achievements have been made already, but there's still a lot of work to do. Areas of the north and in central Gaza are under complete IDF control. Many residents of the Gaza Strip have been moving over these past many weeks towards the south. Really, their only refuge, and everyone has their eyes on the border between the Gaza Strip and Egypt, a city specifically called in Hebrew Rafah, Rafah in English. And there, many Gazans have gone to seek refuge, to get away from the war zones that their cities and their neighborhoods have become, as Israel hunts down Hamas terrorists. And Israel has its eyes on Rafah as well, because it's really the only place that Israel hasn't gotten to yet, and there is a strong presence of Hamas terrorists there. And it's just a matter of time, basically, before Israel does arrive there and bring its fight against Hamas. It'll probably, I would guess this week that this will take place. There's a lot of fears around it, because there are so many Gazans, and if they ran away from other places to there, where will they go from there? And Egypt is very worried, because it's right on its border, and Egypt doesn't want to take in Palestinians from Gaza, which is a whole other issue in and of itself. But as long as this war has been, and as hard as this war has been, Israel has been doing tremendous damage to Hamas terrorists. And as you know, there are two Gazas, right? There's the upper Gaza, and there's the Gaza underneath the ground, the entire huge tunnel network. And Israel has been locating and clearing out these tunnels from terrorists, and exploding them, blowing them up. About 20% at least of these tunnels have been destroyed by the IDF. Many of these videos are online. You can actually see them, of special Israeli forces setting up the explosives after they've already gone into the tunnels, and made sure that there are no Israelis in there, of course, right? We know the whole hostage issue is a whole other thing. We'll get back to that in just a second. And after they cleared these tunnels of any terrorists who might be there, and making sure there are no Israeli hostages, they set up the explosives and they explode them. And this has been obviously a major success in the war against Hamas, and really dealing a great blow to their abilities and their infrastructure. The fighting in the tunnels. This is something that many Israeli soldiers have never done before. They had to go through special training as this war was unfolding, right? How to enter into these tunnels safely, how to fight in these tunnels. It's a whole nother aspect of this war, a very, very important aspect of this war, and one that, thank God, Israel has been doing very, very well with, and succeeding at taking over these tunnels, eliminating the terrorists in them, and again, blowing them up and destroying them completely. As we mentioned last time, there are Israeli soldiers who are reservist soldiers who have been in reserve duty since October 7th, who left their families, their jobs, their wives, their children, their everything, their communities. Maybe have been home, a few times since October 7th. Many of them have been released. My community alone, seen many of my fellow community members, friends of mine, who have returned home and are now home, with the question mark of, how long will they be home for? Will they be redeployed in Gaza? Will they be brought up north? Because that's a whole other front, right? The whole border with Lebanon, the fight with Hezbollah. even though it's not a full-on war, it's been absolutely an ongoing battle since October 7th, basically. And really, that might just be a matter of time as well until that escalates into a full-blown war. The benefit of the situation, though, is that Israel is prepared. Israel is in place with tens of thousands of soldiers and ready if it does escalate. And again, just going based on the speeches and the statements of Israeli generals and the defense minister, it looks like that could also be a very, very likely reality that we will open up another war front against Hezbollah. It's necessary, right? War is hard. War is really, really challenging, to say the least. But Israel has to take out these enemies on its borders, and we're doing that right now, obviously in Gaza with Hamas. And the same needs to happen with Hezbollah if we really, really want to create an area of peace and security for Israeli citizens. The whole story with the Houthis continues in terms of them attacking ships in the Red Sea area. And you might know as well that America retaliated against Iranian strongholds in Iraq and Syria as a retaliation against what Iranian-backed militants did in Jordan just the other day, which resulted in the deaths of 3 U.S. soldiers and about 40 injured seriously. So there's a lot going on. We still pray for peace, and we still pray for the health and safety of our soldiers, of course. And I know you're joining me and all of us here in Israel in those prayers. And at the same time, we're praying for complete victory over our enemies, the complete destruction of Hamas. Just say one more word because we didn't really talk about the hostages. That's obviously an ongoing issue as well, and our hearts break. Everyone's hearts in Israel are completely shattered and broken. That over 120 days of captivity, over 130 hostages have experienced. They're still there. Every moment I or any of us think about, I'm sure you as well, think about what they're going through, what their day-to-day reality is like. We can't even go there. It's too much to bear, right? Our hearts shatter over the suffering that they're going through. And of course, we all want them to be home today, now, right? We want to see them back in Israel, back with their families, starting their healing and their reacclimation to regular life, which will take a long time after such an experience, obviously. And there's an internal debate here in Israel. We won't go into the details, but what should we do to get our hostages back, right? There are people who say what we should make any kind of ceasefire deal with Hamas just to get them back, no matter what, no matter how long we have to pause the war, no matter how many Palestinian prisoners, terrorists we have to give back. And there are others who are saying, no, we can't risk the country again, right? We cannot put our country in danger. Of course, we all want the hostages back, but the second side believes that the only way to do that is through continued strong military force and force Hamas into releasing the hostages, force them into a corner, because the only language they know is strength and is force. So these are the two main voices happening in Israel, revolving around the hostage issue. But again, everyone's unified. One in supporting the soldiers, supporting this war, knowing this is something that has to happen, continue to happen until Hamas is completely eradicated. And of course, everyone agrees and wants the hostages to come home immediately. It's so painful for all of us. The only question is how, right? Through which means. But here in Israel, thank God, we're still strong. We're still unified. We are still ready and able to confront any and all challenges that we face. And we appreciate all of your prayers and all of your support. And hoping for a good week this upcoming week, both in terms of the continued fight against Hamas, the safety of our soldiers, and the return of the hostages. All the best, and be well.